Anthony for breakfast, Albany 783 Triple M. Time to catch up with host for the Perth Property Show, Trent Fleskens. Good morning, Trent.
Morning, Anthony. How are you going?
Yeah, going well. Bit of a change happening in the Perth property market at the moment, with homeowners experiencing the lowest property price increase in any major city last month.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that whilst we have been talking about it, a year of really strong growth across Perth and more to the point Western Australia, even into the regions, including Albany, where we saw 10.8% growth across Western Australia. The interesting part of it is that we're actually, bar Melbourne, the slowest grower over the last 12 months. And it's really hard to get your head around. Most people are talking about affordability and whether they can keep up with price increases. But actually, we've got some, of all the states and territories, it's only Melbourne that we're beating. And places like Hobart, Canberra, Sydney are into the 20-something% mark. Hobart, 24% in a year. It's pretty crazy to imagine.
Why the slow growth?
Well, look, my opinion of it is that we really should be the fastest growing, given the fact we've got so far to come back from with the last 7 years of negative growth. But for me, it's a very easy equation of demand versus supply. And whilst we did see some really strong growth up until about March of this year, the last 3 months have slowed down because our immigration numbers have slowed down based on the caps Mr. McGowan had put in. If you remember, we were at 1,000 people per week for a good 9 months, and that cap then came down to 500 people a week and then down to 250 people a week. So that 750 people differential per week coming into Perth who all need somewhere to live is the difference, in my opinion, because everything else has stayed the same relative to the rest of the country as well, is the difference in that pressure, adding the extra FOMO, the extra bid to the conversation when it comes to the negotiation of a property at the moment.
How has regional WA prices done against the average regional increase?
When it comes to those numbers, you've got some distorting numbers up in the Midwest and up in the Pilbara, which are really hard to track for the rest of the state. Obviously, with Port Hedland and Karratha leading the way nationally with some massive numbers, it's really hard to be able to, I guess, represent that across the rest of Australia. But if you think about somewhere like the southwest, especially with Albany, which has seen up and around that 10% growth mark, it's still below most of the rest of the country.
Okay, where it's glaringly obvious in the city market, let's go back to Perth, is the equity has had really little growth, hasn't it, really, compared to, say, Sydney and Melbourne? Yeah,
and that's right. And that's where that 10.8% is. When you think about the last 4 or 5 years, Sydney and Melbourne have been chugging along in the mid to high teens per year of growth every single year in that time, which has led to it nearly being double the prices that it was back when we had our last boom. Whereas with us, we're still catching up to the price, trying to get back to that price, hopefully sometime next year, of where our boom median was at $550 back in 2015. So it is a strange phenomenon right now where we're nearly self-defeatist in Western Australia, that we don't deserve prices at the same price point as the East Coast. But the reality is, when we're talking about affordability on a national level, the whole country is becoming less affordable, but Western Australia is becoming more and more affordable relative to the rest of the country, given how expensive they're getting, especially given the fact that we actually still make more money as a salary, as a median salary, than any other state in Australia, which is mind-boggling.
Do you think there's going to be a change, Trent, in the near future, or do you think it's going to sit like that for a while?
I think the good thing is we've got sustainable growth right now. 10.8%, whilst it is noticeable, is not the sort of thing that is structurally killing a state. And you look at places like Sydney, where you can't get in below $1.1 million as the median, I should say, for the Sydney market. That's really, if you can imagine in Perth, the average being $1.1 million given our salary. That would be crazy, and that would be what we call unaffordable. Right now we have a very affordable market for our salary compared to the rest of the country. And if we look forward, if we can continue to have growth numbers in the mid to low teens every year, I don't think anyone would be complaining, whether it's a buyer or a seller, because what it means is it's a sustainable, workable market that we can work with.
Trent Fleskens, host for the Perth Property Show. Thanks for your time, Trent. We'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, Anthony.